Sawasidi Wo Ma Guru Beda Badarago Manjushri Wagino Sumalija Shozono Noro Somodo Shiri Wado Sawasi Wo Ma Guru Beda Darabana Somandi Jana Jazana Nara Samana Shiri Sawasidi Wo.
So maybe we can begin right away with Carlos. So
Rinpoche, so it's a quick sutra question. So we've had discussion for many years about concept being permanent phenomena.
Oh.
Yeah. So then today, or the last few days, when Rinpoche was speaking about the appearing object and the held one, both being concepts, right? And I believe Rinpoche said that the held object is, you said, I think you said it was inherently, we see as inherently existent, which means then, therefore, it's permanent, right? Right.
What is permanent?
The held object, that concept.
Held object. So this, if I remember correctly, in our Pramana Vartika studies, Rangdo Shido Sejorba. So we distinct, held object. If you mean it, just held object itself, or whichever is the held object. So there's two ways of thinking. So are you referring to held object as a general, or are you referring to it, which is the held object?
Well, first I was referring to the general.
Okay, the general held object, if you just take the general, then that is permanent phenomena. You're right.
Yeah, and then the other one, which I think we were calling
appearing object.
Yeah, so the appearing object, is that impermanent or permanent?
That's also permanent. It has the same logic.
Okay, so I have a third question, so I don't understand how it's permanent, because, for example, if I say, think of my house in Santa Cruz, and then there's a concept, a mental image comes up, and that mental image, for example, Tenzin Dorje, no mental image will come up for him because he's never experienced my house. But for me and other people who've been there, then the image comes up. So to me, it seems that's an impermanent phenomena. It's a causal phenomena. It's produced phenomena, because based upon my experience, I can bring up that image. So I don't understand how that's permanent.
So I would say that doesn't make the appearing object impermanent. What you are saying is essentially, for someone who has never been at your house, they cannot conceptualize your house. So the conceptual thought apprehending the house, that is of course impermanent, but that doesn't mean its mental image is impermanent. That doesn't mean that.
So how does that mental image arise if it's not impermanent?
A mental image arise in the sense of dependent arising. Yes, that arise with by depending on the conceptual thought. That is right, but it is still not born. It is not born. It doesn't have these three states of being born and then abiding and then ceasing. It doesn't go through these three processes, right? Yes. So classically, this is how it is explained like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Earlier was mentioned seizing the winds. Is that the time when one might rely on a consort to help the winds enter the central channel and induce clear light?
A consort can be of two types, actual and meditated. So either. And whether it is a meditated consort or an actual consort, I think partner might be a better word. Nevertheless, either doing these practices in relation to either of these partners, then the background, there are certain prerequisites. So to have those is very advisable. Yes.
Asking specifically about the point of seizing the winds.
Mm-hmm.
That's the time one would rely, especially on a consort.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. For example, I think by way of the drops, meditating on the drops, and those meditations, we are able to manipulate the winds. And also through Vajra repetitions, going through some of this process, like going through the dissolution of these coarse states, I think by way of Vajra repetition is also possible. So not necessarily with consort. Yes. Thank you.
We have some questions online. Lama Tsongkhapa emphasizes the importance of identifying the object of negation. Can one nevertheless still realize the emptiness of inherent existence without a clearly defined conceptual idea of inherent existence as an object of negation?
I think this would be quite difficult. Not only Lama Tsongkhapa, but also great Indian, masters of the Nalanda tradition have said this. For example, in the Bodhisattva Charyavatara, of course, by the great Bodhisattva Shivala Shantideva, right? So, so here, then I think this must be from the chapter on wisdom. Yes. So in the chapter on wisdom, then it mentions clearly. Yes. Yes.
When clear light realizes emptiness, is there a great bliss being generated? Where does the great bliss that ceases coarse, adventitious minds and winds come from?
Can you please read the question once more?
When clear light realizes emptiness, is there a great bliss being generated? Where does the great bliss that ceases coarse, adventitious minds and winds come from?
This is a very good question. Maybe you can answer. Maybe you can answer.
From the winds entering the central channel.
Yes, I think that is true. Yes. Beijing ishike wala leje da yeje karun tengu yuna. Mandi shume de ochimbi ishike wala leje da yeje karun chila tengu yuna. Karun chila. And the chatik ne joko majora. Denzolo tene de ochimbi ishike yamar. Izi yeje temara. Kiringi. Chatik ne jor. Tenge shumenda. De ochimbi ishis. Yo, cheers. Tila de Gyelchog jana pegyo ma de ne ro az gijila in kinida gishi in ta de kin doesn't measure yena chaps ni yo kaji sege da sege so ta chi ro at de se de jealous in some share ma anyhow so I think I was under the impression that also by meditating on the subtle drops, there is a yoga Tadikin Nenjor, right? There's a yoga of Tadikin Nenjor. I think in the subtle drops. I was thinking even by that yoga, it would be possible to generate Masuka, right? Because great bliss is not synonymous with spontaneous great bliss. They are different, I think. So this is not so easy to answer. I don't know. If you know, please share. Okay.
Rinpoche, if there is time and you think it's a good idea, this person requests that we meditate on the verses of the seventh Dalai Lama's Song of the Four Mindfulnesses.
What was the question?
She's requesting led meditation on the Song of the Four Mindfulnesses.
Something like a guided meditation. I think you all meditate on this. So it's kind of pointless. I feel not necessary today, and not me sort of doing this. I think, yeah.
Besides His Holiness, would Rinpoche please tell us who some of your teachers are?
Oh. No. Never. It's sometimes quite difficult to talk about the teachers, so if I may excuse.
Can Rinpoche explain what is meant regarding the downfalls from the tantric heavy actions that states, quote, giving false answers to sincerely asked questions? Is this related to speaking with Dharma brothers and sisters, or does it relate to all others? Because we are to keep our practice close to the heart, I am wondering about the meaning of this particular line.
I think that here the point is to give, to give an answer with the intention of deceiving the other. I think this is the point, answering with the thought of deceiving, answering with the negative motivation, like this. I think this is the point.
Rinpoche, I'm thinking about just the whole, I shouldn't say point of, but one of the consequences of meditating on a yidam from the point of view of just looking at my everyday experience and how I have an identity that I am for myself. And everybody here identifies with their I in a very unique way, actually. It's not like one day I'm introverted and the next day I'm extroverted. And we're very kind of habituated to hold on to that identity. And I'm looking at, when I meditate on the yidam, I get to be imputing the I, basically, on this whole other identity. And I'm kind of wondering, the question is disappearing as I'm talking too.
That happens to me many times.
Okay. I'm wondering about this meditating on a yidam, and how come we're attracted to one and not the other? Does that make sense? How come my heart is tugged by this yidam and not as much by that yidam, for example? Is that, I'm trying to see, is there like another type of identity that is more purified, that is wanting to come out? How's that? Let's make that question.
Yes, I think so. Yes, and it is also something like, I think, out of karmic imprints that we feel we can relate to this yidam more. This must be really due to past karma. No, that's the only way I can explain it. I think karmic imprints, right? Karmic imprints. Karma is karma. Yeah.
Rinpoche, now I'm the one who has a question.
Oh, please.
So some of us have received, especially this last week, other yidams as well, empowerments. For myself, example, I've been practicing the Yamantaka since His Holiness back 10 years, and now we received new ones. And so it's kind of like, right now I'm kind of like, I feel like, where should I go? Like, how should I, I feel like if I'd be interested in practicing Vajrayogini, because there's something that's drawing there. But then, I don't know, I feel like I'm betraying Yamataka. You know? And but you know, so maybe this is a Western thing, or Western thinking or something. But like, how does it's how does it work? I mean,
Yeah.
there's something conflicting, I guess that's what I'm saying, where I feel, I mean, not that I would stop Yamantaka practice, but it's pretty much you're incorporating the new practice here or adding on. And so how do you blend it, I guess, or how does one, is like,
Right.
how do you embody all of them, I guess, together? Yeah.
Yes. So whatever is the main yidam, I think it is best to do that practice. And other yidams, if you have had some connection with, then for example, with Vajrayogini, just a few Om Suma is fine. And then perhaps you could like dissolve Vajrayogini into Vajrabhairava and then continue with the main yidam practice, like that. Right. Yes. Yes. Okay.
Kind of continuing there. For some of us have made a commitment to His Holiness to do, for example, the Yamataka sadhana every day. And then, but let's say our heart is tugging somewhere else, and there's this little time. So you're saying we can dissolve them into one another still, or should we dissolve Yamataka into the one that tugs our heart? Would that work?
Whichever you feel more comfortable with. Yes. So whatever, I think it makes sense, right? To dissolve all the other yidams into the main yidam. That somehow makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Because then you're left with that, right?
Yeah.
And then to focus on that practice, right?
Very helpful.
Yes, yes.
Very, very helpful.
I think as you're all familiar with that saying, the Tibetans try to accomplish 100 deities, but accomplish none. And the Indians, they try to accomplish just one deity and achieve 100, something like that, right? So here, I think really to stay focused. Okay, we can receive many empowerments, but you can, at the end, you all bring it to one yidam, That way, then I think you are somehow keeping the connection with all the yidams you have connected with, right? So like that. Yeah.
But we still need to do the sadhana if we made the commitment to His Holiness.
Yes, of course. Definitely. Yes.
Could you tell us the difference between great bliss and the greatest bliss, which you just mentioned? Is you said there was a difference?
I think I said great bliss and spontaneous great bliss. If I'm not wrong, I think spontaneous great bliss. engegi 대신 대 아니 육심인 거고요. engegi 대화 준비 시나 육심 거고요나 engegi 대화 준비 시나 이 비캡스 가사 뉴메스미 비캡스 뉴메스미야 따로라로 따야 뉴메스미 찹스 질라로 뉴메스미야 라로 셰 티멘다 오, 나 삽사치나 맛이 삽사치나 맛이你有谁说？可是你有谁的？有谁听不说？就是听人国民难听，你要写呢？其实昂的是干嘛？有些听不的，差不多个弄的听不着。米西个听得上是。그래서 단지대 알레 단지에 뉴메센들이야 지선좀 니치마래 디가르 찹스질라야 뉴메센들에 대해서 뉴메센들이야 개발시온다 디레 담번에 막혀는 야사제 얘를 찹스질라야 뉴메센들이야 니세나 Now I'm confused. Okay, I don't know. I don't know love song. Is that okay? So I have to know it. This I can agree. I have to know it, of course. But I don't know it. Yeah?
Make it up. There's some background where you can, the answer will appear.
Where?
Just from the background of teachings you have within. I'm sure the answer will appear.
What was the question? What's the difference between
great bliss and spontaneous great bliss? You differentiated between the two.
I think with spontaneous great bliss, I think I have this inkling that it arises only in the clear light state. This is my inkling, okay? I may be wrong, but then please point it out.
And great bliss arises where? The first one arises where? If it's not in the clear light.
Isn't there a way of like how these four bliss and the four empties, they are like related, right? So the first empty is, I think we say joy, gawa, gashirwa, gashi. Maybe I'm going away from, you know, the four joys, right? So I don't think then it's related to your question, but still to make that point, the four joys and the four empties, there is a connection, but then that is not always the case. Oh, so I don't know. Carlos. Yeah.
Rinpoche, does it have anything to do, spontaneous great bliss, with generating bodhicitta?
Definitely. Yes.
Well, for myself, all along, all these years, I was under the impression bliss is bliss. It's not divided into different levels of bliss. Bliss is bliss.
You're right. Yes. Bliss is bliss. And these four Chumbo. So again, I'm mindful of how we use those terms, right? Bliss. How in one context, this bliss might mean something different in another context. And this kind of different contexts, I think sometimes it creates like some confusion, right? I think it could create some misunderstandings. So I think as far as bliss, as far as bliss go, I think we're good for today. So
Thank you, Rinpoche. This is not a non-bliss question. So, I had a question about self-empowerments and how they repair commitments. So, like, let's say if we have the ability to do the self-empowerment or self-initiation of Yamataka because we've completed the retreat, we've done the fire puja, does that repair also the commitments we've made with, let's say, another yidam like Vajrayogini or Haruka Chakrasambhara?
I think so. Because after taking 3 Anuttara Yoga Tantric empowerments, 3 different Anuttara Yoga Tantric empowerments, as far as the vows are concerned, they are the same vows, right? We don't have different vows, right? So one empowerment, self-empowerment of one deity, by doing that practice, then that is sufficient. Yeah. Yes.
I have a follow-up question. When doing the self-empowerment or self-initiation, is it necessary to put all of the, tormas, the offerings and all of that, or can you just simply recite the text?
The tormas, if you mean torma in the sense like very traditional Tibetan style, absolutely not. You can use cookies and this, like our torma style. Of course, this didn't exist in India during those times. I think, if I'm not mistaken, in the Indian tradition, real food is used, like real, not something that's made like our dharmas, but actually the real things are actually offered, right? So like this. So here, then like, a cake or cookies like this. So if you have something like, the nectar pills, it might be good to sprinkle something. So there are some extra things it might be a good idea to do, at least like so that you have the essential ingredients, right? For some specific dharmas, or for some specific dharmas, you could, where it requires to put a little meat here and there, then you could substitute, you can place that on the cookie, for example, right? So having a dharma in the traditional Tibetan style is, of course, not necessary.
And one last follow-up question. Do we have to have all the ritual implements like the boompa and the, all of that stuff?
I think it would be somehow it would be good, I feel, because in the self-empowerment, there is, if I'm not mistaken, there is that section of Dup, something like
ritual accomplishment of the ways, right? Yes. If you don't have a ways, then what are you accomplishing? I'm saying it.
Thank you. So, and because this phase, if you think about it, it's not simply for some ritual purpose, but really to generate, the deities, and to generate the specific deity in clearing away the obstacles. So there are much meditations and visualizations there, right? So for those, I think it would be good. As far as like the quality of this, then one can decide, it is not that they have to be made out of like the best, most high, expensive, most beautiful, most ornate, with the best crafts. None of that is necessary. Because if you look, even if you have finding some difficulty finding like very tradition, very like, what is the word? This Tibetan, our style pumbas, even like the Indian style pumbas. It's really very nice. And also, it doesn't like, now, sorry for speaking like in this mundane way, but it doesn't take a huge investment, It is like so simple. And that is how I think it was done in India, the Pumba. And I don't know how we Tibetans, we came up with this idea of adding all those details, and then the upper part, and then the bottom part, and then those silk things around. And it's like there are so many add-ons, right? So many add-ons. I think it must have to do with, I don't know, something like our culture, quite, I think, big on this kind of, flashy things, right? So this, again, is not so important, but even getting this, I'm sure you can find in the Indian stores here. I'm sure, right? Now, and it's still I think they come. You will know right away. So our Pumbas is really taking like the Indian part and then adding the upper part and then the bottom part. But essentially, it is that part. I mean, that is the real Pumba, not this elaborate upper part and then the lower part. That is not the Pumba. The middle part is the Pumba. And that you can, I think, find in Indian stores, right? But if I may add, then it is very important to also have, for example, like the symbols of the five Tathagatas. So this, as per according to the Vedic ritual, which explains all these meditations, and then you will find that part about the symbols. So it would be good to have that on the vase, on the Pumba. So like this, I think, like this. Yeah.
Thank you, Rinpoche.
And of course, these days it's very easy. Something like for Anuttara Yoga Tantra, then there are some for our reminders, like some implements, right, that we have to keep. So there are like these images you can find. So to have that in your sadhana, for example, and when doing the sadhana, then having it there, then it's reminding of the one samaya, right? So this like samaya substances, I think is very helpful in reminding and directing the mind, right? So there are some things I think that are indispensable, right? And then like all these extra details, if you can find, very good. If not, okay, yeah, no problem. Yeah.
Thank you, Rinpoche.
Yes.
Rinpoche, could you share a little bit about your life at Gyatso Monastery, what your training was like, what kind of meditations you did, etc.?
When we joined Gyatso for our tantric, anyhow, for our enrollment, my motivation wasn't like learning Tantra. I never had that thought when I joined Gyatso. I never thought for the next year, for this year, I'm going to study Tantra like really, really good. This thought never came up, Instead, my motivation was to simply join as one of the geshes, as any other geshes, and then really main thing was to, we say in Tibetan, choto kor. So really to be part of the Sangha and then to participate in all the dumche. Dumches kindis. So like they take many self-initiations. So for each like season, semester, then they would have like a dumche for this and then for that yidam and for that yidam. And then there are some other rituals like that. So my motivation was to join in all of those and really be part of that Sangha, part of the Gyatso Sangha. So that was very enjoyable and memorable. And then when we joined, I think it was Gyatso was still in lockdown, so the monastery was closed. And for the first 4 or 5 months, no one could leave the monastery gates. So we were always in the monastery, right? And for our evening walks, then again, only circumambulating inside, but we cannot leave the monastery compound, right? For the first, I think, 4 or 5 months. And because of that, then when I went into Gyatso, I had one monk from our house and he was helping. He was helping with, food, making food, etc. Right? And he's from the same state as Gyude is in, right? So after 4 or 5 months, then I know, because this monk in the monastery, he is not a very serious student. And he actually is on our monastery's like ritual preparing team, right? So he's quite good with dharmas, right? And knowing that he's not such a serious student and likes to take his time and go here and there and really just have a good time, right? I can only imagine how it must have been for him to not leave the monastery compound for 4 or 5 months. Then one day, as we were having a meal together, I asked him, would you like to, maybe it's a good idea for you to take a few weeks off and, go visit your parents, right? So then can you ask your mom, right? So then he asked his mother, and mother said, please come, right? Of course. So then he left. And then before leaving, then I got this kind of orientation. So then I was asking, okay, where do you put the pans? Where do you put the where do you put the flour? Where do you put the rice? So he showed me. He gave me orientation. So he sort of like he handed over the kitchen, right? So on that morning he left, and then I remember it was really raining quite hard that day, and then in the evening, then I thought it was a little cold, so I thought, maybe I should try make tukpa. Tukpa is very good, gives warmth. So then I tried making tukpa, and this was, I think, the first time ever making tukpa. So then from preparing the dough and also preparing the soup, and then making the tukpa, and then after finishing, it's not easy. Now I just cannot stop, and then magically the dishes go away. This doesn't happen anymore, right? And now I have to take it back and then wash everything, right? So then by the time I finished doing the dishes, it was something like almost like 4 hours, 4 hours of work. So this for me was like a great teaching. Then I really appreciated him, and then also the previous ones who helped. So this was really what I learned from that 1 year in Gyatso. Yes. Like that. Okay, so what does this say? Sit comfortably and hold still. I don't know what. Maybe it is telling me that I shouldn't do this. It's, I don't know. It can detect, it has some sensors, right? Maybe it can sense my heart rate. So, the point over the last few days, we have been talking and interacting, and the interaction, it was very helpful, very helpful, especially helpful for me. Your sharing, your questions, and your openness, right? It really it really touched me. So thank you all very much. And a few days back, one person I know was asking some questions regarding the commitments. And I think this was when His Holiness bestowed the generic empowerment, a few days back, right? And before, I think His Holiness in previous times also mentioned the main thing is Sarva Yoga Chitta. This is the main practice, right? Sarva Yoga Chitta. Sarva, all, yoga, practice, chitta, mind, right? To practice all, tamji nenjur gisems, right? So, all the things that we discussed the past few days, if we bring it down, then it comes down to Sarva Yoga Chitta. With Sarva Yoga Chitta, this is the yoga of practicing all, right? This is the yoga of accomplishing all deities, accomplishing all wishes, accomplishing all practice, accomplishing all paths, accomplishing all results, accomplishing compassion, accomplishing wisdom, to really accomplish inseparable wisdom, compassion, inseparable emptiness, wisdom. This is such a great teaching of His Holiness. As you all know, His Holiness at the age of 88, how hard His Holiness works. His dedication, tireless dedication. We cannot do what His Holiness does in 1 hour. We cannot do in our whole life what His Holiness does in 1 hour. I think that's going to be difficult. And you all know the 4 principal commitments. As a person, His Holiness's dedication in sharing love, compassion, wisdom, resilience, human values, universal values, resilience, and universal values, our qualities, the qualities that we all share, teaching us this and promoting this, and not simply just teaching, but also showing showing us that it is possible by being an example, right? First commitment. Second commitment, as a Buddhist, to work towards creating harmony between different religious traditions and also the different Buddhist traditions and also different Tibetan Buddhist traditions tirelessly by not only promoting and holding interfaith dialogues and so forth, but actually by engaging in all faiths and practicing the main point of all faiths. And the third commitment as the Dalai Lama, as the one person we all Tibetans put our trust in, preserving our identity, preserving the Tibetan identity, preserving our culture, our heritage, and also preserving our land, our environment. So this, the third commitment. So these three commitments, His Holiness had this, I think, from many years ago. And then the last few years, His Holiness really engaging in reviving ancient Indian thought, ancient Indian way of thinking, engaging with different eminent contemplative teachers and so forth, safeguarding this, reviving and preserving the ancient Indian tradition, which the Nalanda tradition is just one part, right? So these four commitments really for example, as you all know, in his teachings, His Holiness really stresses reasoning, asking questions, and not simply accepting it because he says so, right? His Holiness always emphasizes that point. And in our community, we have this tradition that for most of our laity, our lay community, usually when there is something like a long life empowerment or some empowerment, everybody goes. But then when there is a teaching, then it's more like only the monastics. Only the monastics, right? So His Holiness, through his efforts, now, even in the lay community, there are many teachings, many group discussions, right? Dialogues, discussions. And not only that, but also introducing debating to the lay community, to engage them more seriously in the Dharma, right? So these activities of His Holiness is awe-inspiring, for me. And so really take His Holiness's teachings into the heart. His Holiness's central practice, at least to my mind, it seems to be Sarva Yoga Citta. His Holiness is the embodiment of Sarva Yoga Citta. So really practice Sarva Yoga Citta. By practicing Sarva Yoga Citta, then you can really honor His Holiness, right? By practicing Sarva Yoga Citta, you honor His Holiness and all other gurus, right? By Sarva Yoga Citta, As we talked on the first day, all of us, we all have had the opportunity to meet the Dharma. How fortunate. And we all experienced the Dharma in different ways, and we were all introduced to the Dharma in different ways, and we all relied on the Guru in different ways, right? Our spiritual journey, our spiritual history is so unique. And it is important, I feel, to reflect on that, to reflect on it, really, to reflect on it, to reflect on the kindness of the Guru, to reflect on the kindness of the Sangha, to reflect on the kindness of our Dharma friends, Dharma companions. This is so important. Sometimes we may sort of take things for granted, and in this taking things for granted, we may take us, the Dharma practitioner, for granted. But if you think about it, the practitioner, you the practitioner, so many causes and conditions had to come together for this result, the practitioner in you. So many causes and conditions, so many, right? So to appreciate that, joyfulness, right? This is so important to always go back to your joy, right? Be in the state of joy and then practice, do your practice, right? So Sarva Yoga Chitta at the heart. Sarva Yoga Chitta at the heart. The Guru at the heart. The Guru at the heart. Sarva Yoga Chitta at the heart, right? Sarva Yoga Chitta. The Guru at the heart. It's very simple. Sarva Yoga Chitta at the heart or Guru at the heart. Your choice, right? But you only have two choices. So either Sarva Yoga Chitta heart at the heart or the Guru at the heart. Either way, it is the same. Either way, it is the same. But please, whatever positive virtues, merits we may have accumulated, please dedicate this to the well-being of all sentient beings. And one of the ways, one of the means of achieving that, the well-being of all sentient beings, one of the means of achieving that is Buddha Dharma, the Buddha Dharma, right? One of the ways of achieving that is the Buddha Dharma. So please dedicate. May the Buddha, may the Dharma, may the Sangha flourish. In order for the Dharma to flourish, we need the spiritual guide, the Guru, to lead, to inspire, to give direction to countless sentient beings. So please dedicate our positive merits, whatever we may have accumulated, to the long life of His Holiness and of the other gurus. And please dedicate whatever, all your merits to His Holiness and all our other gurus and all gurus, so that they may continue their enlightened activities. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Dagi
Chingi sabe gyawa, tendan dowa go, kambe dan kebara jisen, deme nyingbo rendo se, 说在一边的在些多这么老我也的。我爱个呀那么大些呀那这呀。这些路，着那么小了的这这那也巴拉多。觉别佛念我也见也老我所以讲别觉得钱包那么古路上哪面着了那样大呀没呀讲别把觉得钱包
得先做得大，根据接受大龙，天王人马当家。
为什么现在要我当姐姐？我刚了，那姐姐早啊，
三个学期让
多我等吧那没等吧等着那没进。给我这样多啊，马路把新年当白准备。反正你也等吧，是呗？年多乱节等不拉没有，等别看最些年等吧，一切你别大多看我，等你特别路上给我等。绿堂所讲当年是以及怎么样绿吧嘛？这话确的高哇吧没？那天宁波了这年周吧，他看西街别忘了，这边年纪大忘了，讲究生活人就这马街把那这个。结外娘把没把，过年更多别把有他妈心结当，连他的就是年多他们些大多么，讲究三把看那所学，带他归结没了完这就，看的那位各位辛苦嘛，偏当的我妈的就来。接着是我的这家族，别是的巴多的就是给我更多更大浪漫，姐妹姐姐别拉老姐，撒旦浪姐远的老婆，多谢长别，哎呦。
给三万这个，对马的，他们给你的。
Che Dang Wa Ma La Do Jo Ye Nyoro Do Ay Zong So